Hey guys, Victor here, coming at you again with another Tearlament deck profile. And for this deck, we're going to be doing post Age of Overlord. And with that, I mean, we're not going to be using the Horus cards. However, we are going to be taking advantage of the Diabellestar engine just because I like trying out new things, especially when it comes out, to see if I actually enjoyed the cards or not. And I gotta say, they're not half bad. They did pretty well for what I expected them to do. I was able to take first place in my locals this past week. And, yeah, I'm pretty much just excited to continue testing these cards out to see if they belong in tier or not. So, with that out of the way, let's jump straight into the deck profile. Now, the monster lineup hasn't really changed all that much. There are some new cards, but for the most part, it's pretty standard. So, you're going to be playing 3 Tearlaments Kashtira, 2 Tearlaments Reinoheart, 1 Tearlaments Merrli, 1 Tearlaments Havnis, and 1 Tearlaments Scheiren. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Sometimes you want to play more than 2 Reinohearts, you want to max out on 3, but for the most part, it's not really required. Obviously, if you're playing something like Bahamut Shark Toad, you probably want to lean towards playing 3 Reinhardt just so that you can consistently get access to water monsters more easily. But even then, 2 is perfectly fine. It's just player preference at this point, if I'm being honest. But yeah, cards, solid, but everything else, standard. Then for the Shizu monsters, of course, Kelbek, Agido, Keldo, and Mudora. Good cards are good. What more can be said? Then, if you followed this channel for a long time, you know that I really enjoy the Synchro variant of Tearlament. And because of that, we're still going to be playing through Revolution Synchron, especially with the new Diabellestar cards that just came out of Age of Overlord. Revolution Synchron honestly just becomes better and better because it just gets more synergy, as it pretty much can help you get into your Visas Amritara very easily. It mills cards, it becomes Baron to Floor if you have like a level 7, which we have very easy access to. It just does so much for the deck, and I just really enjoy the versatility that it offers. And then to go with the Revolution, you play the 1 Jet Synchron. Also, with the release of the new Diabellestar engine, this card just becomes more phenomenal, but we're going to talk about that later when we get to the spell and trap portion of the deck. Then we're still playing Destiny Heroes as well. We're playing 2 Destiny Hero Malicious, 1 Denier. So you go for Dangerous, which in turn gives you instant access to Beatrice. You can do some cute stuff with like Denier and Malicious to go in for like level 7 or even level 10 synchro monsters fairly easily. There's just so many cool things that you can do with this engine. So yeah, big fan. And then I'm still playing 1 Beast King of the Swamps. So I know a lot of people have cut Tearlaments Rukalos, but I'm still just a really big fan of the card. So I just opted to play the 1 Beast King of the Swamp so that I always have access to it if I really want it. But this is probably like the biggest cut in the deck, especially if you don't want to make Tearlaments Rukalos. But it's just like a personal thing, so I have to play at least 1. And much with like Revolution Synchron, even if you draw it, as long as you have like Revolution Synchron, you still have the whole Ancient Fairy, Visas, and Ratara play to search for any Tearlament spell and trap. So yeah, solid card. Then we're playing the 1 Destrudo. So Destrudo, sick, super versatile, which is something that I've always treasured in these types of decks. It can become pretty much any single level between 1 and 7. So if you want a Beatrice play, you just make this copy Revolution Synchron or Jet Synchron. If you want to make Baron with Malicious and Denier, you just copy Denier, Synchro for 10 with Malicious. And even if you don't want to synchro, right, you can still do plenty of exceed plays. Like if you just have a Denier on field plus like a level 4, Destrudo, copy that, make Destrudo level 4, overlay for like Dweller or Time Thief Redoer. There's just so many cool things that this card can do, and I'm a really big fan. Next, I opted to play Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. This is something that I've really enjoyed, and with the approach that I took to this specific version, I just wanted more cards in the grid that actually did something. And Zephyros is honestly just a phenomenal card because it does so many different things, much like Destrudo. It's really versatile in what it can do. It can bounce back your spells and traps such as Primeval Planet or Tearlaments Scream to help you reuse them later in the turn. You can bounce back monsters to help you make rank 4s a lot more easily. Even something like Revolution Synchron, right? I talked about this in a previous video where if you have Revolution Synchron on field that you brought back with a card like Cross Sheep, you can go Zephyros, bounce back the Revolution Synchron, Synchro for 7, Revolution Graveyard Effect, make Visas Amritara, and then that in turn gives you access to your entire Tearlament engine. So much like Destrudo, this card is just phenomenal in the versatility that it offers you, and I've always been like a really big fan of those types of toolbox cards that just have so many different applications to them. Next, we're playing 1 Unchained solo Shyama. I don't really know how to feel about this card, but I feel with the Diabellestar stuff, it's honestly not terrible because even if you draw it in your hand, it's very easy to get into the grave, whether you're going with Dangerous or just the Diabellestar stuff. And just being able to pop your set traps or even like your Tearlaments kaleido-heart to make it float into something else is pretty good. But I don't know. Like I like it, but at the same time I don't like it. It's an okay card, but it's probably one of the more cuttable pieces of the engine because it's basically just like an extender. But yeah, it's fine, I guess, for what it does. And then for the final monster, we're gonna be playing the brand new Diabellestar the Black Witch. So this card, pretty cool. It's a level 7, so that means if you have this plus Revolution Synchron, you can go for an Insta Baron play. We don't really care about any of the effects except for the first two, being you can special summon this card just by sending any card from your hand to the or field to the graveyard. Just be aware, this does not trigger any of your Tearlament cards just because it's considered like an unclassified effect, or I guess to put it more bluntly, it's not an actual effect, I guess. I know it's weird, right? It's considered unclassified, but it still doesn't trigger any of your sullieks or your like any just tier card in general. But that's honestly fine. The main benefit comes from like being able to discard like an Ishizu monster or your Shyama or your malicious. And especially if you're like summoning or discarding an Ishizu monster, so you go special summon Diabellestar the Black Witch, send Agido, chain link 1, and then you can chain block with your Diabellestar as chain link 2 to set a spell or trap from your deck. And you know, just being able to protect your Agido from being hit by something like Ash Blossom can sometimes just straight up win the duel. And we don't really use the graveyard effect to special summon itself, just because honestly it really doesn't matter. But those first two effects are just phenomenal. But I don't really think you need to play more than one as of right now. However, if you really want to, like you can't afford like the quick play spell because they're, let's face it, they're like double the price. You can go all in and play 3 of these and it should achieve the same result if I'm being honest. But yeah, it's honestly up to you. This is definitely something that requires more testing as like the game progresses, but for now it's solid. And with that, that's the monster lineup, and now we can move on to the spell and trap portion of the deck. Alright, so for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 Primeval Planet Perlereino. Pretty obvious, you know, it's one of the best cards in the deck, probably the best starter. And then to go with that, we're going to be playing 3 of the new Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils spell card. So this is a quick play card that can pretty much just, it only adds Diabellestar, let's face it. And the great part about this is since it's a quick play, you can use it during your draw phase, you can add the Diabellestar, and then you won't get hit by something like Draw and Lockbird, which some people are playing, especially with like the format being as varied as it is, so that's a bonus. And then the main power that comes with Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils is that it's able to recycle the other spell card that we're playing in conjunction with like the Diabellestar to give us like a free draw. And that it honestly did come up a lot where I just recycled the other spell card, drew a card, and then was able to continue on with my full combos. So the card's pretty cool, but like I said earlier, if you don't want to play this one or you don't want to shell out the cash, you could also just play the 3 Diabellestars and pretty much accomplish the same things. You're just missing out on one single draw, so it's not the end of the world. Then we're playing 2 Tearlaments Scream, 2 Super Polymerizations. This is easily the biggest flex spot, and I honestly don't even really want to play Super Poly. I'd probably prefer playing something like Triple Tactics Talent or Forbidden Droplet or just a bunch of like other good powerful one-of spells. But for now, I just decided to throw it in, and it's fine, you know, but I definitely feel like something like Talents or Droplet is infinitely better than this currently in the metagame anyways. But yeah, it's fine. Then for one-of spells, we're playing the 1 Foolish Burial, the 1 Tearlaments Grief. I opted not to play Foolish Burial Goods just because, as I said earlier, I wanted more cards in the graveyard that actually did something when I milled them. And unfortunately for me, I tend to just always mill Foolish Burial Goods instead of being able to start with it. So I opted to just cut that. Same reasoning for Terraforming, you know. It's good, but you don't really need it because the deck is honestly already super consistent. So I'd rather just have all my cards be as impactful as possible. And then to go with the final spell for the deck, we're playing 1 original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye. So this is typically going to be the target that you're setting with your Diabellestar the Black Witch. This is also the spell card that you're going to be shuffling back with your wanted quick plays. And what it does is you just send a face-up card from your field to the graveyard, and then you special summon a level 1 fire monster that's from your deck. And you're just summoning out Jet Synchron basically, but even half the time we don't really do that. This is basically just a like free fodder for us to like get rid of with like our Shyamas or just things of that nature to help us, you know, actually draw more. So I guess you can think of it more as like a Metal Foes fusion, where it's not the greatest card, but it's still giving us a draw at the end of the day, so it's not the worst. But yeah, card's fine. You don't need more than 1. You hardly ever use it just because it stands for cost, so that means it doesn't trigger pretty much it triggers like nothing. But it's fine, you know. We just play one because we want to get Jet Synchron sometimes, and we for sure want to be able to just banish the wanted, put this at the bottom of the deck, and then draw a card. And that's it for the spells. And then for traps, you just put the 2 sulliek and the 1 Trivikarma. So even though I'm not playing Foolish Burial Goods, I still opted to play Trivikarma just because it's still really easy to get it into the grave. You know, we're constantly milling half our deck pretty easily. With Beatrice, we have access to this whenever we want, and even if it's in our hand, thanks to the fact that we play Diabellestar the Black Witch, we can just discard it to special summon Black Witch, or if we have like the Shyama engraved, we can just set this and then destroy it with the Shyama. So we have multiple ways to get this out of our hand and into the graveyard, so you know, it's okay even without Foolish Burial Goods. And with that, that's the main deck. And now we can move on to the extra deck. Now, the extra deck hasn't really changed all that much, if I'm being honest. In fact, I don't even think it's changed since the last iteration. So I'm just going to go through it pretty quickly. You play the 1 Cross Shape. This is the only Link monster we play. If we're not playing Revolution Synchron, then I could definitely recommend going into like a higher Link package, especially thanks to the fact that SP Little Knight was just released. So you can do like a lot of really cool things like playing IP Masquerena, Little Knight, Sprite Spring, you know, things of that nature. But since there is such a heavy focus on the synchro aspect, we only have the room for the 1 Cross Sheep. But even then, it's still a phenomenal card that just does so much for the deck. Then you have the 1 Abyss Dweller, the 1 Time Thief Redoer, and the 1 Beatrice God card that gets you access to whatever you want. For synchro monsters, you play the 1 Naturia Beast. Pretty easy to make, if I'm being honest. All it really takes is Revolution Synchron Engrave. And then from there, you can either Cross Sheep out a Shizu piece, which you're probably going to have multiples in the graveyard very easily. Or you can also just make Mudragon and make it into an Earth and then synchro for this. It's an okay card. Honestly, like a lot of the decks don't even really play that many spell cards, so I don't even know if it's that impactful, but it's still nice to have just in case. Then we're playing the 1 Visas Amritara with the Ancient Fairy Dragon. You know, simple combo, normal summon level 4, synchro with Revolution Synchron, bring back Revolution Synchron, make Visas, search for any tier spell and trap. Then for the other level 8, we play the 1 Cypherm Lord Omega. Still a really cool card that I'm a really big fan of, just because it recycles so many cards, but most importantly, it recycles your Shizu shufflers, which means that you can be a little bit more greedy with them, right? So if you have like a card in your graveyard that you'd much prefer in the deck, you just go activate Keldo or Mudora, put them back, then during your opponent's standby phase, you just add them back to your graveyard and you can redo the process all over again. And, you know, hand looping your opponent for 1 is honestly really solid too. So, yeah, really cool card. I really love it. And for some reason, it can also like shuffle itself back from the grave. So if they get rid of it, you can further just recycle your resources. But, you know, that's almost never coming up. The moment this card hits the field, you've pretty much won the game anyways. But, yeah. Then we're playing the 1 Baron de Flor because it's Baron, and that's it for the synchro monsters. For fusions, you play 1 Mudragon of the Swamp, the 1 Garura, the 1 Dragostapelia, super poly targets that we're going to be able to special summon pretty easily with the cards in our own deck. Then you play the 1 Destiny Hero Dangerous. You combine this with pretty much Malicious to make Beatrice into any other card that you may need. It's very easy to make, pretty solid, even without Malicious, right? Even if you can just get like the Dangerous because you used your Malicious earlier or whatever, we still play a bunch of level 6s too, because we play the Shyama, we play the Garura. If you're going into the side deck, we play Bestials, which are also level 6. So there's so many avenues and like just cards that this card can combo with into Beatrice. So yeah, really cool. We still play the 1 Rokolos because we play the Beast King of the Swamp. And then lastly, we play the 1 kaleido-heart. And with that, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!